Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Youngster Studio Live, where we bring guided studio activities for you at home. My name is Raphael Noz. I'm a senior teaching artist for the Fine Arts Museums of San Francisco. Today we're going to be painting some clouds. This presentation will take about 15 minutes. Let's look at some materials. Some watercolors. Bowl of water. Bowls are good because they don't spill as easily. A brush or two. Flat one is great if you have it. Pencil and eraser. And a napkin, so you can dab some things on there. All right. Today I'm wearing my big puffy white cloud shirt and these beads that were given to me by a friend in Mexico whose family makes them. I meant to wear them last time I was doing a Youngster Studio Live video, but I forgot, so I'm wearing them today. Here's a cloud picture that I made earlier just to give you an idea of what we're going to be working on. Here's another one. You can also do this with using pastels or crayons if you like, but I'm going to focus on watercolors today. Maybe in another video I'll show you about pastels and crayons. If you look out your window lately, maybe you've seen some big puffy clouds in the sky. I think they're called cumulus clouds. They're my favorite. And lately here in the Bay Area, especially in San Francisco, we've had some rainy days with some big, beautiful puffy cloud skies, and the occasional rainbow, in fact. So I decided it'd be nice to paint some clouds. All right. Thinking about clouds makes me think of some of the artworks I've seen at the DeYoung Museum. And here's a couple I want you to focus on. The first one is by Rockwell Kent, and it's called Afternoon on the Sea, Monhegan. It's from 1907. Look at this cool, empty sky. If you notice, blue is strongest at the top and fades down to a lovely yellow towards the horizon. That's the bottom line where the water meets the sky. We're going to use that technique as well to blend down from a cool blue down to a lighter color towards the horizon. The second piece I'd like to look at is the James Turrell piece called 3 Gems from 2005. It's also in the collection at the DeYoung Museum in San Francisco, but this piece lives outside in the sculpture garden. It's actually a small building that you get to walk inside. It's totally round, and at the top there's a big hole that you get to sit and watch the sky go by. On occasion, you might see a big puffy cloud go scudding by through the hole. It's a lovely way to frame the sky and occasionally to see a cloud too. So let's think about those kind of paintings and objects while we make our picture today. So the first thing I want you to do is draw your horizon line. The horizon line is where the land or the water meets the sky. Today, we're going to draw our horizon line very low. Now, this may look like I'm going high to you because it's upside down, but if I turn it around, you'll see. That way, I'm going to get mostly sky. See how much sky I have? And just a little bit of land at the bottom. So I'm going to draw my horizon line just like that. Kind of flat. Not perfectly flat, but kind of flat. I don't want it to be too tipped one way or the other. You could put hills on either side if you wanted. That's all we got to do for step one. Pretty simple so far, huh? Next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw lines that radiate out from one point on our horizon line. Radiate out means they start at one point and they just go out. Like that. So watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to choose maybe this point right here, kind of in the middle, and I'm going to draw a line going out that way. And I'm going to draw a line going out that way. You know what I'm going to do? I think I'm going to use a darker pencil so you can see better. But these lines we're going to erase later, so I don't want you to make them too hard. Okay, maybe you can see that a little bit better. Draw your lines as best as you can from that one point right there in the middle, or right where they all start, and head on out to the sky. Starts to kind of look like a sunset maybe, or a sunrise. Just like that. That's kind of a lot, but that's okay. I'm going to make these a little darker so you see them. There we go. See that? Now, your picture is going to look like this, though, right? So you're going to have your horizon line down here at the bottom, and you're going to have these lines radiating out from that point. Okay? Great. Imagine that this is the closest part. You see how things are big up here, and you see how they get really small back here to the horizon, and then they disappear, right? So I want you to imagine that when we're looking at our sky today, we're looking at things that are really big out here, and that as they get down towards the horizon, look what happens. They get smaller and smaller and smaller, okay? That'll help our clouds look really real, okay? Here's the opposite of what I mean. If we just make our clouds like this, they look very flat. Watch, I'm going to make them in so you can see them better. If we just go boing, 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 they just look kind of flat. Kind of cool too, but that's a different kind of picture. I'm going to show you how to make them look realistic today, okay? So, we have our lines. Now we're going to draw our clouds. So what I'm going to ask you to do is kind of follow these lines a little bit. And our cloud shapes are going to be puffier and rounder at the top, and they're going to get a little flatter towards the bottom of the cloud, okay? So I'm going to maybe even make my clouds go off the edge of the paper here. That'll make them look like they're really close, like they're right over your head. All right, so I'm going to make a big cloud here, boom, like that, and kind of flat on the bottom. Maybe make some big shapes at the top. And I'm going to make another cloud. This one's going to be a little narrower because it's kind of going back. See how it's narrowed down here? And then it's going to come way up like that. And the great thing about making clouds is you can kind of just keep adding to the shape. It doesn't really matter too much. We're just going to use it as helper lines so that we can make our clouds look real, okay? Now, as the clouds get back closer to the horizon, remember, we're going to make them smaller and flatter. So I'm going to make another cloud like kind of back here. It's a little bit flatter. And then I'm going to make some way back here. These are little tiny flat ones. Maybe I'll make a few of them. Every time I do it, it's different. Probably for you too. All right, I made some shapes. That's all we need to do. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to paint around the clouds. So this time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, I think I'm going to use my big flat brush, and I'm going to use a very dark, rich blue, almost a kind of a violet blue a little bit. It's a little bit more violet than it is green. So I'll show you what I mean. It's probably just a regular blue to you. So we're just going to start at our top, and we're going to use this dark blue just around the outside of our clouds at the top. Uh-oh, guess what? Went over the line. Wah. Not a big deal. Doesn't really matter too much. It's just, remember, our lines are just helpful guides. They're not things we have to worry about too much, okay? From there, I'm going to make some lines with, or I'm going to make some color with a little bit more of a, kind of a greenish blue. I'm going to show you what I mean. So here's my first blue I used. You see how dark blue that is? This is more of a greenish blue. It's lighter, and it has a slight tinge of green to it. So if you don't have a greenish blue, you could try to add a little bit of, just a tiny, tiny bit of yellow or a tiny bit of green to your dark blue and see how that works, okay? You might even try to have a separate piece of paper just to practice your color to see if it's what you want. Because one thing about watercolor, you can't really take it off the paper so much. So, okay, I'm going to come in with some lighter blue, this light kind of greenish blue below my clouds. So I'm going to do the bottom of my clouds with this kind of lighter blue. Okay? Now here's where I'm going to kind of let the colors kind of mix a little bit. And this is where you can take your rag or whatever, and you can kind of blend a little bit. So if you have spots where the color doesn't look quite right, you can blend a little bit with the rag. All right, I'm going to go back to my dark blue to go around the top of this cloud. And this is where I'm going to blend, okay? So I'm going to blend those colors together so it doesn't look like one kind of ends and another one sort of starts. All right, back to my lighter blue on the bottom side of these. Now, as I get closer to the horizon, colors are going to be softer and lighter, generally. So as I go down, I'm just going to let these colors, I think I'm going to add another cloud over there too. I'm just going to let my colors kind of bleed out without adding any more paint. So, all right. Now you might want to do like me. I think I'm going to try to soften out some of this color here a little bit. You can kind of do this. I'm using a watercolor paper, which is nice because it lets the paint kind of soak in a really nice way. Do you see how I added an extra cloud over there? All right. So now we have our colors around our clouds. So we got our dark blues at the top, softer, lighter blues going down. All right, let's see what's next. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to make those clouds have some shape to them. So I'm going to add some color into the cloud. For this, I'm going to add a little bit of this kind of purpley red to the blue, and I want to make it very soft and light. So I'm going to practice, see, yeah, that's about right. Now I'm going to add this color mainly to my top clouds and on the bottom side of them, okay? Might add a little bit more. And what that's going to do is it's going to make them look big and puffy. In fact, you know, instead of just being flat, they're going to actually look like they have some shape to them, okay? So let's add some of that. Now see all these lines I got here? What I'm going to do when I'm done is I'm going to erase them so you won't see them. And then it's going to look like I painted it without using any lines. Pretty tricky. Artists can be kind of tricky sometimes. All right, so you throw in some of this kind of puffy, purpley color. You can use kind of a soft gray if you want. You can use a little bit of this, you can use a little bit of a purple if you want. Okay, but particularly the ones at the top, you want to do those. Remember, more color happens closer to you, which is up here, right? And less down here. So now I'm just going to add a little bit, just using, do you see how I didn't even add any color? I'm just going to put a little bit, there's still a little bit on the brush. Maybe I'll add just a tiny bit, and I'll throw a little tiny dash down there too, okay? Now, do you see how white it makes the edge of those clouds? Isn't that great? I think so. Okay, so I might want to play with it a little bit with my rag. You can try that if you want. It's up to you. Okay. Now we're going to do one more thing to make our sky just look poppin'. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to take a little bit of a very bright yellow. See this bright yellow I got? It's kind of a reddish yellow almost, which is to say it's not a greenish yellow. All right, and I'm going to add that to the tops of my clouds, and it's going to look like they're just bursting with light, okay? See that? It's going to make it look like, wow, there's a bunch of light in the sky, and it's hitting those clouds just right there. Bam! See that? Just like that. Pretty simple, right? Now, a little bit less color, remember, as I go closer to the horizon. So a little bit here, maybe a touch there, and that's about it. Not too much for those down there. Just leave those. Okay? So now, my picture is starting to look like that. Okay? Remember, I'm going to erase those lines. I'm going to try now to see if it's ready to be erased. Generally, I want to wait for this to dry before I erase it. But let's see. I made some blue on my table. Maybe you should put something down on your table and not be like me. Okay. Next thing is, let's see if this is ready to be erased. I'm not sure, but I'll give it a try. It's pretty wet. Pretty wet. Yeah, I'd say give it a minute. Let it sit. Okay, we'll do that later. Anyways, last thing, now that you painted your sky with your clouds and you're waiting for it to dry, you can add your picture on the bottom. Maybe you want to make a little landscape. That means you're going to put land down there, like maybe a big bright meadow or some forest maybe, or maybe a city down there. Or maybe you're going to make a seascape like Rockwell Kent did, in which case you're going to add water and maybe boats or something. So I'm just going to add water, just plain water. And I'm going to show you one way to do that. I'm going to take my lighter blue, my kind of greenish watery blue, and I'm going to make my dark color right on the horizon, like that. Water is pretty flat. And then I'm going to remove my brush like this. And it's going to look like nice, flat, calm water. Okay, do you see that? Simple as that. Not too much to it, huh? Do you see I'm kind of going back and forth? And it just kind of looks like smooth, soft water. All right. So here's one I finished. You can see the water there. And you can see how I erased my lines so you don't see all those radiating lines on this one. And I added some boats. And once again, remember, the closer to the horizon, the smaller and the less detailed your objects are. The closer to you, the bigger, the brighter, and the more details they have. That'll make your picture look very realistic. Here's another picture I made. You can see this one. This one I put a little bit of land on the bottom. But I love these scenes with the big sky and a little bit of land down there. It makes me feel like I can take a big deep breath of fresh air. It also makes me feel like I'm a cloud in the sky. Maybe I'm a cumulus cloud and I'm just lazily blowing along in the sky like I'm in a river floating down in a raft or something, which is lovely to think about on a day like today. All right, that's it today. I hope you had a nice time. Tune in every Friday morning for more DeYoungster Studio live sessions from the DeYoung Museum's education team. This is Raphael Noz, Senior Teaching Artist. Until next time.